India is going through a crisis of desertification where 30% of its land is becoming unproductive. What do you think is the temperature Mangalore would have reached maximum? So when we are having Vanamotsava here, a whole lot of students sitting clapping, ma'am, we will come with you, don't worry ma'am. How many will come? 2, 3 out of hundreds of students, only 2 or 3 are motivated to come out of their warm rugs. So environment is such an issue that everybody loves to speak and is concerned, but they are happy if somebody
Post
else
stories
does.
on social media.
Oh yes. If you Google New York tree map, you will get a map where you take the cursor to the tree and it will dot and it will give you the details. We have same data for entire Mangalore. They would have used crores of dollars to do it, and we have done it for a bootstring budget.
So, and you mentioned that you came up with a number
Yeah.
of trees per person in Mangalore. So,
Yeah.
what is the number? Let's move on to your next great project,
Okay.
which is Smitha ma'am has counted all the trees in Mangalore city or Mangalore district.
City.
City. So, number wise as well as species count, right?
Yeah.
Just the trees or the plants as well?
I will specifically tell you that we have counted the trees on the roadside.
Right.
So we what we call as public area. So from the road, about 10 feet away from it on either side, and if there are any trees in the divider.
Okay.
So these are what we call as common areas which public use. So in these areas we have counted,
Okay.
and we have not counted any in private properties. So for private properties, we have taken an aerial image using Google Image. We have calculated the percentage of green cover.
Okay. So she has reported her findings in this book, Tree Count Report Mangaluru 2023. Have you guys released this book on Amazon or e-commerce?
No, I have
Where
not.
do people who want to read this report would get this book?
Okay. So I am going to write a full publication on it.
Okay.
In terms of journal publication, which is of value to me, because I feel this kind of study will add value to decisions or policymakers to redefine what green cover should be there for a smart city. So when we are looking at changes that are happening in Mangalore, we find a whole lot of concretization, and the landscape has changed so much, from green covered
Paddy
trees,
fields.
paddy fields, yes, and it's totally devoid of any other than street dogs,
Right.
living system on streets. It's not like a living planet, it's
Right.
like concrete jungle. And the way which we are going, are we going to become another Bangalore?
Bangalore is green, ma'am. It's really green.
But the way in which they are suffering from garbage issues, from water issues, unorganized traffic. So all these come with urbanization.
Right.
So when we are planning urbanization, we should look at retaining the nature of my city
Right.
and not losing it to features. When I say it becomes like Bangalore, I'm saying because I consider Bangalore as an ecological disaster.
Garden city to.
Yes. And in terms of heat, in terms of it's not able to sustain anymore.
Right. We felt this time.
Increasingly, it
because
is
in the
becoming
summer.
uninhabitable. That is what Bangaloreans are feeling. Although they love Bangalore, they live in that place, they've grown in that place, but they're finding it difficult. Every year, the change which is occurring is rapid and beyond their control.
Right.
And is this what we call smartness of human behavior?
And this year there was a heat effect that
Yes.
is really amplified. Was really extreme this year.
Okay.
So that really made some people rethink about having trees. Very
What do you
seriously.
think is the temperature Mangalore would have reached maximum
Uh,
to date?
to date,
To
I
date.
think this year,
How much?
2024,
How
is
much?
the record I feel,
Uh,
based on the
this particular report tells us
42.
the surface, thank you, surface temperature.
Mhm.
I'm not saying ambient air temperature.
Okay.
Surface
Concrete
temperature
temperature.
is 47.
Oh my god. Okay,
Okay, so
that's.
you would think it happens only in the deserts,
Mhm.
but India is going through a crisis of desertification where 30% of its land is becoming unproductive for agricultural purposes just because of lack of moisture, water, that is moisture when I say, and heat, that is resulting in heat.
So the concrete is absorbing the heat.
Yeah.
The,
Or lack of vegetation
Mhm.
results in increasing heat. Okay, now I will say it's getting too hot. I want a cooler.
Mhm.
What does the cooler do? Blows air and you put ice or you put water, and then the cool air will come. What do these plants do? They transpire and give out moisture,
Mhm.
and air is natural. So they are natural coolers which we are having. So you make a man made structure and you put these natural coolers, they're going to cool that place for you. But you remove those also and add to the structure by more concrete, put interlocks, drains also are concrete. What is going to happen to the temperature? Water is another issue altogether. But just the temperature, if there are no trees which can bring down the and if the whole place, say for example, Mangalore is very hot, no trees, and it's only heat, even the clouds will not fall, stop for giving us the rain.
Mhm.
So, what gives us rain is the humidity that is given out by these plants, and there is a reduction in temperature, and the cloud level comes down, and we have rains. If it's going to become hotter and hotter, then the clouds will not stay over Mangalore to give us rain.
Mhm.
So it's a cycle. So we need vegetation, we need greenery not only for beautification, but to sustain temperature, regulate them. Instead of spending thousands of rupees buying coolers and putting AC in our rooms, if we are able to put these natural coolers, that is one contribution. Second is the oxygen, which we all know.
Mhm.
The third is globally, we are working towards net zero.
Right.
We are saying that at least one person, one tree we need to have.
Mhm.
And India is supposed to be the lowest, where one person has 24 trees. So I was just curious to see in Mangalore population what could be the tree ratios.
Nice. Interesting
So
question.
every ward,
Mhm.
60 wards, out of which 50 are coming within town limits. So we scouted these 50 wards from Panambur inward up to the Netravati river here. So on the roadside, I took around 40 volunteers we have from different engineering colleges, from Alva's
Okay.
Engineering College, from St. Joseph's Engineering College, our own NMMIT Engineering College students, and my students from here. So we have a whole team of students whom we volunteered to come. Pump well, come at 5:30 in the morning. So when we are having Vanamotsava here, a whole lot of students sitting, clapping, ma'am, we will come with you. Don't worry, ma'am. You do the good work and all that they'll say. 5:30 in the morning, pump will come. How many will come? 2, 3 out of hundreds of students, only 2 or 3 are motivated to come out of their warm rugs, wear their walking shoes, and come and walk the way. So, environment is such an issue that everybody loves to speak and is concerned, but they are happy if somebody
Post
else does.
stories on social media.
Oh, yes. Oh, that part I missed out. Actually, I could have, every street I went, I would have made
Right,
a
right.
live, and I would
Awareness.
have,
We should have come up with
yeah.
hashtag Mangalore tree
Yeah,
count.
but my impact, I thought, would be the statistics that I could use, and I'm old school. So we took the mobile, but to tag. So we used our mobile and we went under each tree and we used an app to tag the tree. When I say tag, it gives me the latitude, longitude on an Excel sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So I go under the tree and use these equipment. You can see one
Right.
GPS locator here.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives us the latitude, longitude, and then we mark it in the Excel sheet, identify the tree, measure the girth and the height.
Mm-hmm.
And this gives us the biomass
Hmm.
of the tree. And how much of that biomass is carbon?
Right.
All of it is not. So we have a ratio in which we will calculate the carbon fixed and carbon turnover annually, how much it is sequestering. That also there is a formula.
So were you able to also find the age of the tree just looking at the...
No. I'm not such an expert yet.
And what about the carbon turnover you said? So you
Yes.
have to come back again in the same year, right? Like the next year to see the change in biomass or something for that data?
I
I don't know. Like, I was just guessing.
yeah, no, Clinton, that's a very good question. What to say? Very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It took me 1 year.
Wow. This project is all 1 year
1 year
span. Mm-hmm.
field work.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning, every holiday morning,
Okay.
I've gone with students and counted trees.
Interesting.
And I'm the highest counter of the group.
Hmm.
So whether this student comes or that student comes, somebody takes a holiday or not, I have been there constantly. So it has been like a tapas,
Yeah.
to complete this task.
So-
And if you're asking me to do it all over again,
Right.
the
okay.
Herculean task, I feel is worth doing, and I definitely welcome anybody with any technology to help me to do this better.
Mm-hmm. Let's brainstorm this out.
Yes.
Yes.
So instead of doing it manually, I'm sure there must be a smarter way.
Yeah.
And the next generation will definitely find a smarter way to do it.
Yes.
So can we use drones? Can we have other apps? And can we have other algorithms to do it from Google Image?
Right.
So we can, from image, we can see what is the biomass of
Right.
it
Change of pattern.
and how much carbon. Already IBM has done something in this area to do the crop and carbon fixing. They do have their app, but it doesn't come down to a city where you're mapping every. If you look up New York map, New York tree map.
Okay.
If you Google New York tree map, you will get a map where you take the cursor to the tree and it will dot and it will give you the details. We have same data for entire Mangalore. They would have used crores of dollars to do it, and we have done it for what do you call that? Bootstring budget.
Yeah.
We've
University grant.
Oh yes, and Nitte University was kind enough to give me a grant of 1.5 lakhs, and with that I have
Wow.
been able
With that
to.
you were able to finish the whole mapping
And
of the
you know what
trees.
was the major cost?
Okay.
Giving breakfast to my children. So
Okay.
all those who came for counting, we would give breakfast and we would support their travel.
Right.
That's all that cost. The expertise is as or the price is as much as the air that we
Nice.
breathe. So it's been on the house.
What point you really decided to take this project? Like, did urbanization give you a concern, or were you inspired
Yes.
by New York tree map project, or this all things came together
Yeah.
and then you made a decision to,
There is Dr. T.V. Ramachandran from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. And he had done a workshop in 2015-16 in Alva's Mudabidri College on GIS tagging
Okay.
and mapping. And I went there with this idea that I always had a dream that I want to count the trees of Mangalore, because with every passing day, the count was coming down. And trees are the first casualties of whether it is road widening or even some procession is going to come or some VIP is going to come. Then they are
Electric
going to
lines.
trim and yes, of course, there's a constant battle between KB and
Trees.
So all this resulted in getting the trees going by the day. So my mother's house is in Falnir. So I found that in Falnir, when they started this smart city project, almost all the trees on the roadside, Valencia, you know the
Yeah.
story,
Yes.
have gone. So now from Hampanghatta, Taj Mahal till Kankanadi, we have only 4 trees. So when the and entire Bandar area, we have only 2 trees. So when you have an entire ward getting depleted with trees,
Mm-hmm.
don't you think you should be concerned?
Very much.
And the concern is not to point out to somebody and say, look, you're doing this wrong, but it is to tell the citizens of Mangalore, look, here you can do something right. So there is something going, and can you attend to it? So my data analysis was not a fault finding work.
Was just presenting.
It is, and if you go through the book, I have not made any emotional statement or no superlatives used. It is pure data. So every page of it, you can see it is only statistics. It is only data. I have not drawn any conclusions from it. So the conclusions will come in the next chapter or next book that I do, or the publication that I want to bring out on this will have correlation studies and others.
Right. So and you mentioned that you came up with a number of trees per person in Mangalore. So what is the number?
Okay, so let's take a look at this particular ward wise I have given. Which ward would you like to choose? Shall we choose Milagres?
Yeah.
Milagres is heart of Mangalore, all right? So if you take a look at this Milagres map, you can see how few the trees are here. So every dot here is a tree, and the color of the dot indicates the species. So we have made something like a menu card here. So you can see in 47 ward.
Wow, neatly presented.
Yes.
Structurally.
So you have this color is attributed to the tree. So not only the name of the tree scientifically, but the common name and also count. And the total number of trees present in ward
125 trees in Milagres.
Yes.
And the population would be around.
So the population, because we did not have a census in 2021, we have done a computer projection on it. So in 2011, it was 7,998. And today, we think it is around 11,069. So this is computer projected. And the total area is about 94 hectares. And we also had some interesting information on male-female ratio. So this is the male and the female ratio.
Why is that a factor?
Because we wanted to see if it will affect in any way the care or
on the trees.
or aesthetic or any other issue. So we just wanted to take a look on that, but it did not make, I don't think it will make a difference. But we had the statistics, and the number of trees is 125. So it's easy for us to calculate for 11,000 people, 125 trees.
11,000 people, 125 trees.
Yeah. So are we talking about 1:1?
This is
very, very, very far-fetched.
Right.
So indicating about 0.01% or per tree person, and the green cover is 29%, of which only 5% is on the roadside. And this graph tells you that the temperature in this area was 2014 was as follows, and today there is 1.5 degree increase in the land surface of Milagres ward. So this area heat has gone up by 1 degree.
Were you able to find the number of trees in 2014 through satellite imaging or just vegetation mapping?
No, we can get the green cover percentage, but we cannot get the
tree count. Green cover percentage.
Green cover percentage we have counted. And then we also have diversity index. Like 125 trees were there, but how many varieties were there? How many species were there? 32 different species are there. So we have a biodiversity index called as Shannon's diversity index. Then we have calculated the total biomass of carbon and carbon biomass, and then carbon out of it, and how much carbon it is sequestering. We can also tell you that what is the dominant species in this particular area. So you have Macaranga peltata or tenaris, which is called as the spider leaf that has remained as a weed. Wherever we find on the roadside, we definitely see this in Mangalore. And then we also have Alstonia scolaris, which is interesting. This is called as the Palamara.
Okay.
So Aati Amavase, they have the
Oh, that's the
scrape.
bitter one mother used to give us.
So people recognize it, therefore they don't cut it.
Hmm.
They have a use for it.
Otherwise, it would have been long gone.
So some of the trees that are conserved are because they need it, and it is culturally related also during Aati. So we can draw some inferences out of this study that I'm proposing to do. So like this, I have done for every ward.
So how many wards in Mangalore?
Out of the 60 wards, we have done for 50.
50 wards, covering around how much area? Approximately.
In terms of kilometers, I really don't know.
Square
but
kilometer.
I can, give me a...
Can go page by page, otherwise
Yeah.
it would be better.
Yeah.
So, yes. So the red color indicates the areas you guys studied.
Yes. And then you have this up to 10. From Surathkal to here is 10 wards.
Okay.
11th ward is Panambur. And then we have 60 wards here.
Panambur to
Bengre.
Ullal.
Yeah,
Bengre.
Bengre, 60. So it comes like this. So these are the wards that we counted. And that is 50 wards out of 60. And total trees that we counted was 19,171. And this had around 244 different species. And the dominant species in Mangalore is copperpod tree. That is this yellow flowers which you can see here outside. The pod has got that brown color which looks like copper. So it's called as the copperpod tree. And then you have the...
Why do you think they are dominant in Mangalore? Do you find those trees dominant in some other cities? Or just in Mangalore?
I have not seen another city comparison yet. Okay, but copperpod is very popular because it gives a carpet of yellow flowers in the mornings.
Very ornamental.
Ornamental. So it is an ornamental plant. And then we have this Terminalia catapa, which is Indian almond, badam tree.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The advantage of badam tree is when I went to do these plantations, there were some gardeners who objected for planting outside the hostel, etc. When I asked why, they said, chikka chikka ele idre gudslike kashta.
Litter.
So so they are concerned about don't plant trees because who's going to sweep. So then we gave them these trees which have big leaves, so the labor of picking them will be easier. So this almond tree grows horizontally and gives a shade, and electric people can cut it also and it will still be there. And it's very popular with one more group of people. You know who? Auto rickshaw drivers.
Because time pass eating?
No.
Oh, they can... Shade. Okay, park the auto.
Yes. So if at all, I would like to introduce
that's nice
these
relation,
stakeholders
actually.
into tree growing. I would invite the auto rickshaw drivers of Mangalore to cooperate. Because wherever there is a rickshaw stand, there'll be 4-5
Because
trees.
they understand the urban heat effect more than anyone do. Because they spend like 40% of their life in a day outside. Their direct exposure to heat.
When you drink water, you'll just put a little bit of water to the trees also.
And they respect. They don't take the presence of tree for granted.
No.
So,
and they have now in Mangalore become very conscious about auto stand. Earlier, anywhere on the road they would park. Now they have a dedicated space. So they have that belonging. This Namma Jaga. You try parking near them. Yellow line. They will come and tell you. They feel that region is theirs, that belonging, and they green it.
That's a nice observation.
So rickshaw drivers, I would like to take them into confidence if at all community involvement is there. So these are some of the trees.
So you found 19,171 trees. So
and for a total population of approximately 6 lakhs people. And the female ratio, female are slightly more than male in Mangalore.
Right.
This is how, but I still could not answer you the kilometer.
No, that's fine. What I was really curious was, for 6 lakh people,
We have only
We have only around 19,171 tree. So
in public
ratio
areas.
is, yeah.
So now, what would be the use of this work? So if I belong to, say, this particular,
Ward.
this is Bendur, yeah, and it gives me clear indication where there could be possible plots where we can plant trees, and also tell me that don't plant this Lagestromia. You already have so many of them. Try planting other species. So we can we can make informed decisions on what varieties of trees to plant in this particular ward,
Right.
and where to plant this ward. And if I may, I don't
So
know
which
if
space do you think is plantable here?
wherever you see red is concrete, houses are there. Wherever you see gray is the area where
there is space. There is no limitation of space. You mean?
some areas absolutely not possible, because there is no the house stands just next to the road. There's no space.
Right.
So some areas it's not possible, some areas it is possible. But here again, I have one more opinion of myself. I don't know. I may sound very impractical.
Okay.
But when we are talking about planned cities, we should incorporate tree parks in every ward.
Right. It's a necessity.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
So if we have to sustain,
Right.
and we are calling development as sustainable, it's very difficult to say plant 6 lakh trees, because Mangalore population is 6 lakhs.
Right.
But it is easier to say this particular ward has 7,000 people, so we can plant 7,000 trees. So can we have a dedicated park or public space where we are able to have high density planting of trees,
Right.
or we are scattering them around the roads? Fine. Why I'm not so much for scattering the trees around the road? See the landscape of how roads are changing in India. We are having flyovers,
Right.
maze of flyovers. Where is the question of roadside trees?
Right. And they keep digging.
So
updating
under
the
flyovers they make, but it's cruel because they don't get sunlight.
road. Right.
You can have ornamental maybe there. Okay.
But you mean dedicated space for high dense tree population is needed in
In
Mangalore?
wards. So maybe during ancient times, where the kings, the good governance was correlated with greening, and he was like Ashoka was a very good king. He planted trees on either side of the road for tired travelers to travel from one city to another. These are what we have learned in our social science lessons. So a good king always planted trees by the roadside. It has gone into our head that trees should be on the roadside. But roads are now getting redefined with smart cities and development plans. And in their plans, trees are included. That's what is said in the books. But we are not seeing it happen. And at the same time, I know the road is, say, 20 feet today. After 5 years, it's going to be 25. After 5 years, it's going to be 30. Every 5 years, you're going to have.
Right. I think Mangalore Road is going to be like doubly expanded because the amount of cars in the road is.
So if I know that if I keep my baby here, an automobile is going to come and hit him, wouldn't it be foolish of me to insist that put a tree here, knowing very well that after 5 years they are going to cut it? So we are not able to save our trees because we are putting them in vulnerable positions knowingly. So isn't it time that we need to rethink and see, undisturbed, can I leave them alone in one site for 20 years? Can I make a tree park where I put in these trees and leave them undisturbed? Can it be a part of? So that needs a little bit of policy.
So do you think Mangalore has space for enough space for tree parks to get the ratio of 1:1?
I really don't think some of the areas have. But some areas, private people definitely will purchase some plot.
Right.
Next 20 years, they don't want to build anything there because it is an investment for them. Such spots, if it can be converted to growing trees, okay, for a limited period of time, 20 years lease. After that, you allow them to cut. But at least those 20 years, you are having a dedicated area
Right.
where you can go. That plan can work now. But if you are planning a city, now is the time because we are planning expansion of the city.
Right.
So can we have places, pockets ward wise.
Walkable, like for every 5 kilometer distance, there should be a tree park for
Yeah,
people.
that is ideal or
Yeah.
imaginary.
What do
but
you think is
one
the
ward.
practical thing for
So,
Mangalore? Like,
so you have 60 wards,
mm-hmm,
60 small parks,
mm-hmm. So one small park for each ward. Yeah,
or one
pretty
particular
good.
region in one. So, what to say, big problems may have small solutions.
Right.
We cannot have a big place where we will say we're going to do this. So, can we operate at ward wise? Can we take corporators into account and try to achieve it? So, in Nite University Department of Architecture, we are planning to undertake any one board and see if this hypothesis actually works.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we are all speaking in a very ideal situation,
Right.
but on ground it's very different.
Right.
It's not going to be easy. People are not going to listen to whatever environment, but workout apuji with the square feet rate going up,
Right.
skyrocketing. So there's a conflict always between value and price.
I think the municipality should, because Mangalore, I mean, in decades to come, in 20 years, I think I see Mangalore going to be one of the big cities. So it is just emerging. So
Yes.
I think right time for the municipality to invest in land and keep the pocket to dedicate
Make
it
this
for
city habitable.
habitable right now.
Yes.
So then we can't go back. It will be very expensive, I feel.
So this would be valuable data for policymakers,
Right.
for decision makers.
Right.
So this work is not to show that, look, your corporate ward is not good, do something. No, I'm not finding fault. I'm saying this, using this, build up.
Yeah, as a
Okay.
informed
So
decisions.
if this climate change has occurred due to man's foolishness,
Mm-hmm.
only man can reverse it by taking a back step or taking some positive steps.
Have you made any effort to present this to any policymakers, government officials, politicians?
No, politicians not yet, because the timing was such that I could not approach any
the
political
election
party.
times,
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't want it to be used for any other purpose.
Right.
But I want it to be used not as a tool to hurt each other, but as a tool to build upon.
Right.
So I have given copy of it to the DC office, then municipal office, everywhere we have gone and given
So
one
did they
copy.
give any feedback or did they change their perspective?
No, not yet, but they appreciated the work. Then I have given a copy to forest department also. They were very keen, and they have sometimes quoted my work and then told that this ward is not having trees this year, let us do plantation here.
Right.
So they have used this data to focus their
Initiative,
yeah.
future initiatives.
And also it is not like forest department will bring plants and then decide where to plant. They have to plan. They have to plan that we need this much here, and that year they will produce 30,000 plants,
Right.
seedlings, and then they will distribute it. So planning is done 1 year ahead. So all these studies will help them to plan where they are going to plant, because it is forest department that does the planting. They have definitely been positive to this work, and they are using this work, I know, because they have quoted it a couple of times. So they are using it. Maybe slowly many more people will try to use it and see how it is feasible to use this data. And if everything goes on well, maybe after 10 years I'll do a count again.
Nice.
And hopefully by that time I'll get so tired that they'll counting lakhs and lakhs of trees in Bangalore. I'll be sweating it out. So
Okay.
did that laugh say a lot of things? One of my students told me something. His name is Abhiram and he's from Alvas Engineering College. He told me in Kannada, ಮೇಡಮ್ ಈ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು 2 ವರ್ಷ ನಂತರ ಬರ್ಬೋದಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ.
ಯಾಕೆ
ಎಂತ ಇರ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ನಮಗೆ ಈಸಿ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. ನೀವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬೇಗ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಮೇಡಮ್, he said. Then I realized, yes, it is true. Maybe next year it will be easier, and after that it might be even more easier. But the main finding is Mangalore is green.
Yeah.
But it is green because of private people. And if, as a private property owner, I decide to sell my land to a apartment builder, or I want to move on
Right.
with my son in another place, then I'll sell this house. Then they're going to raise it, and then they're going to. So, if private people lose the greenery, then the onus on public services to maintain this, we need to
Right.
work today. Because after 20 years, we can't get a 50-year-old tree ready.
Right.
We have to work now.
And what is about the amount of carbon sequestration? Like how much out of that 19,000 trees?
Yeah.
What do you think is the amount of carbon dioxide absorbed every year, approximately?
Yeah. I have a summary here
Wow.
with all the specifications here. So you can see here 19,171 trees. They are fixing this much. This is the biomass, this biodiversity, and average. Yeah. So take a look at here: diversity, green cover per ward, percentage green cover, and temperature difference. And this is the carbon sequestered. This is the carbon sequestered.
In
The
each
second
ward, right?
column.
Ward-wise.
Yeah.
So the total would up to.
This is the carbon. 23,000. No. 2,54,000. Am I right?
Yeah. 25 million kilos around.
Yeah.
25 lakhs.
2.5 million.
Yeah, 2.5 million. Sorry.
2.5 million, I can say.
25 lakh kilos of carbon dioxide absorbed every year.
Yes. So that is the carbon sequestered. So this is the conclusion. And you can see which ward is contributing maximum to the carbon fixing also is
So
calculated.
which ward is leading in Mangalore?
Right now, the number of trees is highest in Panambur, because
I guess
Mangalore
so.
Port is
Right.
doing a good work in doing the greenery. But it's, see, this is Panambur. But
Right.
it is also interesting to see that that's also the hottest area,
Is facing the beach.
because there is open concrete surfaces.
Right, right.
So it's also the hottest area and a rapidly developing area. So it is one of the hottest region. At the same time, it has maximum amount of carbon fixed. But still, that very clearly tells, and 1 degree rise in temperature.
So what are the unique discoveries or takeaways you had in this 1-year project? Like what did you discover new? Like what is the conclusion of this project overall?
Okay. So I would like to say that at the rate at which we are going, the temperature increase is only going to be upward. But bringing the temperature down is actually quite easy. It's not as difficult as we are imagining if we are having localized approach. So whole Mangalore once only we will make not possible. Ward wise, small solutions if you
Modular.
think. Yes.
Like work
Then-
on one ward. If it works, then replicate with another
Yes.
ward.
Or many ward, I'm trying to approach self-help groups, and we have some parisara caring
Or you can have
groups.
ward-wise competition.
Yes. If we have a competition, the issue is who's going to give the prize money.
Mangalore municipality.
Oh no. Cut that.
Okay. Yeah.
These are some of the findings.
Okay.
And I'll also tell you something interesting. There are areas where the temperature has come down by 1 degree. This is
Okay.
Thiruvel.
Hmm.
Thiruvel is in the outskirts, going to Polali,
Right.
that route.
Bachpe side.
Yes. So that region is still green, where development has not occurred as rapidly as other places. And this particular region has actually cooled down as compared to the previous
Nice.
area, where maybe it was very barren and open exposed. Now it has more cover. So it's not like all the regions are showing a steady increase in temperature.
Right.
So there is a difference, and some areas you can see in negative value as well. So let's take a look and see what has happened here last 10 years. Can we emulate it to others? So this gives me hope that it is possible.
So the average temperature increase over 4 years is 1.5 degrees Celsius.
About not 4 years, from 2014 till today.
10 years. Okay.
Yeah. So these are the outcomes that we are saying. So you can see here land surface area. So the highest land surface has increased in Deribel North,
Mm-hmm.
that is Ward 17, and experienced an increase of 2.2 degrees rise,
Oh,
36,
okay. Surface
and
temperature.
surface temperature. And if you observe that this is the area where a lot of housing has come up
Hmm.
in the last 10 years. So we call development, housing, urbanization. So that has related to increase in temperature. And the next is Kadrikamla ward. That has also got 2.24 degrees. So earlier there were paddy fields.
Right.
Now all houses are there, and
Mm-hmm.
this is seen a 2.24 degree rise. Whereas conversely, Tirvel ward and Bajal ward are showing more cooling of
Mm-hmm.
1.4 degrees lesser than earlier and 1.3 degrees lesser than earlier. So the average temperatures have come down in some areas and gone up. So the temperature in Mangalore is between 26 to 47 degrees.
So Bajar is the right place to plan a apartment. Just kidding.
This is what I'm afraid of. Next to you, I know the land value in this place might go up. See,
Yeah.
such powerful information we
Right.
have
Yeah.
that it can be
This
manipulated,
is
Clinton.
good for real estate
People
people.
can manipulate it. So I'm not
uh,
releasing it.
Like
you
if I'm
understood?
a real estate guy,
Yes.
what I would say is I would really market this as okay. I mean, I would look at the data
Yes,
for 10
yes.
years. People would value greenery. People would literally pay over 10, 20
So,
lakhs just for the greenery. And why not plant it there? So, yeah.
that is one of my fears.
Then you have to charge like probably 10,000 for this book.
That's why I have not released this book,
Okay.
because I see enormous potential of it being misused,
Mm-hmm.
misquoted. And
Yeah, but you can before that help bring the public policy changes just for Mangalore.
difficult.
Why it's difficult?
I feel the
Because even people would stand with this policy. Uh, it should make developers think twice or 10 times before cutting a tree. They have to compensate with something else, which
there are regulations now that if you cut one tree, you have to plant another.
no, but we need
But
more.
by planting some ornamental plant, you cannot claim that you have, redeemed your
Right.
sins. So it's law is there in place, but how we are implementing it and following it, interpreting is very different.
So, if you had to suggest trees to plant in Mangalore, if there's a project to plant around 100 trees in Mangalore, so what is the criteria? What do you see in trees like canopy size or species, or what trees do you suggest for
Yeah.
Mangalore?
Yeah. So first of all, the area where it is growing. So if it is, there is one person who is doing an amazing job,
Okay.
Jeet Milan,
Okay.
and he has planted, I think, lakhs of trees. This year he is targeting 1.5 lakhs
In Mangalore alone.
alone
Okay.
in Pachanadi area where there is a dump. And last year they had sliding of the waste into people's houses. So he's trying to grow these trees as a barrier to prevent them from leaching out the waste into the groundwater and into the houses. So the areas around where people dump waste, this is one place where we can think of planting trees, because not only the smell, but under the ground, the water, the soil, everything would be taken care, and they'll also act as a physical barrier. So when we put these trees and they grow and all, no, people will not object. But even if one of them were to fall on somebody's roof, then in the newspaper they'll be big. We should cut all roadside trees. We should not put the trees there. Lady Hill, one tree fell, and it was big news. So why put them in a place where there will be harm? That is one thing. So put them in a place where they will be undisturbed. So maybe in this area where I'm saying where Jeet is right now planting, it is distantly away from the housing areas. So it will act as a protecting area without harming any other human habitation around. So we have to take care of ourselves also. Our roof should not break, our compound should not break, and commuters should not be damaged. So all these issues are there. So dedicated areas which are allocated, and the problem is if one person plants a tree, other person comes and removes. Why? ನನ್ನ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಹಾಳಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಐ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇಂಟೆಡ್ ಮೈ ಹೌಸ್, ಅದು ಚಂದ ಕಾಣೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ದಿಸ್ ಟ್ರೀ ನನಗೆ ಬೇಡ. So there are several people coming and removing them also. There is Vanamotsava and everybody is planting and gone. Next day you go and see how many will be in the field. Sometimes we are not able to understand human behavior, why they are removing trees from planted areas. So it's very challenging to target human behavior and to change it.
How would you continue this project? Like if you had to, like you have done such a great work in 1 year, if you had to extend this work, like if you had to extend this work, like there, I mean, there's no project which is ever complete.
Correct.
There's every day is
Yes.
like incremental,
Yes,
right? Which
yes.
is the what do you think is the incremental next step for this project if you had to?
Okay, Mangalore is having 60 wards. I have done only for 50. So I'm looking for some kind of support for doing the rest of the 10 wards that are from Surathkal to Panambur.
Okay.
Then it would be really very complete.
So what if it is within the ward itself that you like, you know,
Within the ward,
like in a, you have done 50. So if there is an incremental work that has to be done within
further inside.
Yeah, further
Yes,
inside.
yeah, okay. So in terms of volume of work, more number of wards which were left out.
Right.
But if I want to take it forward incrementally, I would say that many of the work that we did was manual, which may have some errors, which will not be technologically perfect. So next time I do it, I will be using better technology to do accurate measure of the girth and the height.
For accurate measurement of carbon.
Yes, biomass,
Biomass.
height and girth. So I would love to have some kind of technology which can help me to hasten up the process. Instead of an extended work being done all around the year, if I can limit this work to 2 months, then I will get a lot more volunteers and get it done. And the hidden part actually of the entire work is to introduce next generation to trees.
Right.
So in this entire process, I don't know whether anybody recognizes the trees, count everything. But now I have 40 people who can recognize at least 10 trees and tell botanical names of it, uses of it, where it is located, and who will recognize it anywhere and have become sensitized to environment. So this is also a part of the study, the hidden curriculum.
Right.
Is to familiarize Gen Next, because when our generation goes, the next generation should recognize and hold on
And continue the work.
and continue. And these young people, what they have done here, like for fun, definitely will have a lifelong impact on them. And they'll come back to the street and tell, I counted this tree, or I planted this tree. So they are going to be emotionally connected.
Right.
So when we put in a board and say, I love Mangalore, it's not a mere board. You need something to connect to. And these tree audits, I'm sure, has made a difference to these 40 people who will definitely say, I love this part of Mangalore.
Right.
And now when I call for the next, I'm sure I'll get many more volunteers who are now aware that this kind of work can be done. My very institute students, when I called them, they did not come because they thought I was joking. Who will count trees
Right.
early in the morning? Madam is crazy anyway. So they didn't believe that this was done. But when they saw the book and when they saw the effect of it, they said, ma'am, if you knew you were doing this kind of work, we would have come, ma'am. I don't know whether it is lip
Then
sympathy.
call them for the other wards.
Yes. But I'm hoping that when I do it, I even asked if somebody has a two-wheeler,
Mm-hmm.
because walking manually is very challenging.
Right.
Even if I had a two-wheeler, one person sitting in the back, because the Mangalore streets are not so wide. You can
Mm-hmm.
actually go and tag them on a two-wheeler, and I would have
Right.
worked faster.
Hmm.
I didn't get volunteers who would drive two-wheelers.
Hmm. So I
So
can help you here to
yeah,
get the students for the next projects.
yeah,
So do you like any technology to be integrated in this process, like
definitely. If I'm able to measure
satellite
the trees,
imaging,
and use of drones for
use
measuring the
of drones,
biomass, and also for identification.
computer vision?
Yeah. So now that we have data for these 19,000 trees,
Mm-hmm.
okay, um, I can show you on Google Map this particular foliage, this color, texture, intensity
Mm-hmm.
is this much biomass of mango tree.
Right.
And a mango tree looks of this pixel intensity.
Mm-hmm.
A coconut tree has this pattern, and a jackfruit tree looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, will they be able to teach the machine to identify
Wow,
trees?
just on the color
Yeah,
chlorophyll pigment
yeah,
from around
yeah, yeah,
1,000
yeah,
kilometers
yeah.
from above. Okay.
Texture. So,
I
the
mean, is
pixel
it
intensity and
possible, or you're just exploring? Is
no,
it
no, it is
possible?
done.
It's done.
It's
Okay.
already done.
Interesting.
It is already done by
Wow.
infrared also.
I'll turn this into a
Images.
competition then.
Okay.
Even students can get into satellite imaging, how to do satellite imaging
And
studies,
plant
and
identification.
plant identification, computer vision
Yes.
combined.
Yes.
Pretty great exercise.
Yes. And if they are
Right.
able to do it,
Mm-hmm.
I need not walk street to street by
Right.
foot.
Right.
I can just take the Google image and I can
Right.
say this tree, this
They
much
can study
biomass.
one patch of land manually and
Yes.
then locate that patch of land satellite.
What took
and,
me a year can maybe be finished in 10 minutes
Mhm. Interesting.
if you
You
use
can
AI.
sit in the
Yes.
lab and just
Take
say
the
this
Google image
word.
and
Yeah.
then do it. And do it.
Interesting. Let's see.
And,
We'll take this
no, it
further.
will happen.
Mhm.
It will happen.
Yeah, but we have to make it happen.
True, but I'm sure somewhere in the world they would already have done something like that.
But there are studies people using
But
LiDAR.
they will cost a bomb, and they will really have a lot of technological input that has gone
Right.
into it.
Right.
And India having brilliant jugaad brains,
Right.
I'm sure if it is opened up to youngsters, they may help me with some technology.
Yes, I will help you out with that, ma'am. Like, I'm pretty interested in this project.
Yeah.
Like, if I can, input whatever I can, like, infuse
I
some
would love to
ideas
have
here.
more the merrier and more
Right.
the better. Clinton, I would like to give you a demonstration of this particular audit and how it can be useful in the years to come. I'll show you this particular spot. You can see here. Can you see a tree? No, right? And now, when I click on my audit, which was done on 12th March 2023. So on 2023, March 12th, there was a tree here. And if I click on the tree, it tells you the name. It was a rain tree, which was nearly 60 feet tall. It was a huge tree with 8.9 feet girth. And today, when you take a look at this particular site, you are not able to see it. So this is near Kadri Park, where the trees were removed. So every tree here, which was there on March 12th, is well tagged and documented.
To end this podcast, I would like to end this with a question which is really important and is really impacting a lot of people living in urban places, which is urban heat island effect. It's like people are feeling the heat, and a lot of people are dying of heat
Yes.
in the summer.
Particularly senior citizens.
Senior citizens,
I
right?
lost my father-in-law this summer.
Oh,
because
he was living in the city.
yes,
Okay, and it's
they
because of the heat stroke region. Heat stroke reason.
I don't know if it is heat stroke, but the minute the heat increases, the behavior of senior citizen changes
Right.
because of sodium potassium balance ratios,
Mm-hmm.
and these play havoc with the body metabolism
Right.
and dehydration.
Mm-hmm.
And they are not aware of what is happening to their body. So I suspect that heat is something he could not bear anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think are the strategies Mangalore can adopt to minimize this effect in the going forward? Apart from
First step is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I don't see any particular drive on awareness. Summer is coming, then all senior citizens, children are vulnerable, and they need to have this much adequate ORS supplies or drives that help people to understand that be prepared and tune your bodies to climate change. So, this is one step which we can do positively, because many people feel very weak and bala illa illa, but they don't think it is because of this. They are not able to correlate that it is the dehydration that is making them cause this. So if you do awareness programs, they will be prepared, and when they become weak, they'll say, okay, this is because of this, and I'll drink bonda water, maybe I'll become better. So self-care improves with information related to heat and changes. This is one thing that I think we can do in terms of saving a life of senior citizens.
And how about urban design? Like any suggestion on urban design? Like you have walked around the city, you may have noticed something, like maybe
Yeah.
silly things, small details that you think can be changed, can be modified to which
Yeah.
can have a good effect on
I
these.
have definitely observed that certain builders, before the apartment comes up, they would have planted trees. Okay, so they are conscious that they should make the surrounding green. Then maybe they'll get a better rate for their apartment. I don't know. So whatever the intention, but they are planting trees even before building. But there are certain builders who build the building and a nice huge tree growing in front of it, they will raise it because look popundu. You want the building to shine so that they get more contracts. I don't know. So there are different approaches. This varies from person to person based on their initiative. Maybe we should think of a common system where they have a forum where they say that, look, how responsibly we can have sustainable development in the city. And I'm sure there is a whole lot of research going on biomaterials to use to bring down the temperature. The shape of the building, the shape of the roof, the texture, the material, the angle,
There's something called tropical modernism in the
Yes.
architecture. I think like Mangalore should adapt architecture
Yeah.
to its weather pattern, not
So
on the.
I'm not equipped or an expert in this particular area, but because I work closely with Mr.
Right.
Virodhanarna, who is an architect heading the architecture department here, and recently we have had meetings in this same line, and we are trying to do something on the architecture level as well.
Speaking about that, I have a weird fantasy. I mean, like my desire to like raise a vertical forest
Yeah.
in Mangalore. Like you integrating trees into. I mean, the buildings will have concrete extensions,
Yeah.
and these extensions are for planting trees. And it is not sustainable to plant very dense, heavy trees because the concrete. I mean, not the steel is. You
Yeah.
need a very
The
big
ratio
steels.
of the bases
Yeah,
to
yeah.
top will topple.
So trees has to be light and pretty like vegetative. So what do you think? I mean, if I erect that building in Mangalore, so in case,
Yeah,
so what are
it
the
might
five
not-
species?
Yeah, it might not be difficult for you to achieve it in Mangalore because Mangalore is hilly terrain.
Right.
So you can take a hilly terrain, you will find the slope, and that layered what you're thinking can be made for trees. You will find natural habitats which will
So you need to dig up. I mean,
yes,
this
and
like
create those steps in the hillside, and you might get your landscape that you want. You do not.
that'll be too expensive.
True. But a building is a little challenging to think. But amongst all the trees that I have explored or observed, on summer, in the month of May, in summer, it's very difficult to count trees, and we were hell bent on completing a task. So 12:30 in the afternoon, we were going around in Gandhinagar area, counting. Suddenly, under one tree, I felt cool and wanting to deeply, take a deep breath. And when I looked up, it was Pongamia, Hongemara. So this particular tree definitely has something in it which I cannot tangibly measure
So you
and tell
found
you.
eureka and a sense of peace at the same time.
Yes, it was cool. On a scorching May afternoon, 12 o'clock, I felt suddenly cool, nice breeze, and a lot of freshness. Maybe something to do with oxygen, maybe something it has some element it is exuding. I do not know. So then I was thinking, oh, this is how maybe Buddha got his moment. So definitely, each tree has its presence and its ambience, which we cannot quantify yet, because again, I reiterate, we do not have technological equipments to measure many of the impacts of trees, which we still feel are we are speculating about. So it doesn't mean that they don't have, it's just that we are inadequate.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. I mean, with this note, we are ending the podcast. Thank you so much for speaking extensively on pteridophytes and trees. And I would say thank you on behalf of Mangalore citizens for coming up with this beautiful report.
Oh, I'm honored.
Yeah.
First time I have a thanks from
I
citizens.
really made it. I mean, on behalf of citizens.
I would like to thank Nite University for
Right.
sponsoring such a valuable piece of study, recognizing it
Mm-hmm.
and sponsoring it.